Hello everyone and welcome back. We are thrilled to have Haresh Gangwani from Bolstra, who has talked to us about the concept of what customer success is and how it is different from CRM, or similar and different from CRM. He's talked about how customer success should be part of a strategy of a firm, and he's given us some tips and tricks about how to go about implementing CS as well. Now we're going to delve more into the implementation part and the role of the customer in the process. But in the last episode, Haresh, you were talking something about agile and doing things in bite-sized chunks.
Yep.
Now, how would you go about deciding which bites to first chew off? So is there a kind of a process of the customer success implementation, and then in every step along the way, do you do the agile methodology?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Let me explain. First of all, when we implement customer success, as a customer success company, we adhere to the customer lifecycle journey model.
Yeah.
That's one thing we have in our product, in our methodology, and that's what we also, when we talk to our customers, we talk about managing their customer lifecycle.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of our customer lifecycle journey. Very basic but very powerful.
Yeah.
We've got 4 stages of a journey: land, adopt, expand, renew.
Yeah.
Right? And that's your first year journey. And then you've got a second year journey, you've got third year journey. You got different journeys for your customer segments.
Yeah.
High touch journeys are different than low touch journeys.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? And it could even be product specific journeys.
Yeah.
In Bolstra, we manage customer journeys as a leading indicator of where the customer is going. Versus health scores, which are typically a lagging indicator.
Absolutely.
Because you've done the last pulse or survey a quarter back.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but we got both.
Yeah.
Now, on top of that, and then I'll answer the agile question.
Yeah.
On top of that, not only we have these signals, leading as well as lagging, but we also have, these are quantitative, right? Then we've got qualitative scoring, which means the engagement that a customer success manager conducts with their customer, where they are in the journey. And the longer your activity or a task that stays in a hold state or in a to-do state, that's not good, because you got to close that, right?
And then
if they are scheduled for a QBR and you have expected QBR time is, let's say, 60 minutes, and you have not moved the card for 300 minutes, and the QBR has always shifted, that's not a good sign, right? So we combine the quality. Now talking about agile. Because we manage our customers through a journey of land, adopt, expand, renew, and within those stages are called achievements, we only manage to those achievements at that specific point in time. Rather than have a CSM be confused or at least overwhelmed about everything they have to do throughout the life cycle, we only give them prescriptively areas that they need to work on, so they can do like a virtuous circle.
Absolutely.
You keep growing, it's iterative, and if other members of the team are involved, they are creating their own agile customer success engagements.
Absolutely. And
that's
which
the power of it.
I think I love essentially. Do you think that the agile part of it is why you went from a traditional mantra that seems to be almost every customer success company saying out there, saying land and expand, where the agile part is land, adapt, because the idea is that you don't want to wait, expand, or you want to wait till the landing is there, then at a later quarter go and find out if we did land them at all. Is that the reason why you actually have broken down a land and expand into land, adapt, so that you learn quickly, adapt, then expand, learn again, and then go towards revenue?
Absolutely. You have got to learn at every iterative, every achievement is providing you the learning mechanism, right?
Yeah.
And many a times it's not linear either.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are multiple stakeholders getting involved with the customer.
Absolutely.
But if a customer success, not if, when, a customer success manager does their job right, then the expand and renew should be a byproduct.
Absolutely.
Not a work product.
Essentially, if I link it back to my sales terminology, I think you need to take care of the activities first, because the activities are things that you can tweak so that you can get the results, which would actually be your expand and renew. Right? Now, let me build on something. So essentially, you say is that if you go into implementation, if you want to land and everything else, and I think I had a very nice discussion with you where landing in my head was about the salespeople landing the customer, and you said no, salespeople might make promises that might sometimes not be so easy to deliver upon. So true landing happens when the value that the customer really wants is delivered. Is that correct?
So I want to correct you one thing. Yeah, that is, in theory, yes, but salespeople don't say things to cause harm or
Absolutely.
ill.
Yeah.
But salespeople are not customer success delivery people, right?
Absolutely.
So what matters is the passing the baton. Sometimes the baton falls.
Yeah.
And what I am advocating, even in some customer journeys that we have, start with pre-sales.
Got it.
They don't just come at land. Land becomes a passing the baton time frame, but many a times I did myself. I was in Nashville, Tennessee this last week, and in that meeting, that was not my closing meeting. That was one of the meetings that I wanted to demonstrate the value of Bolstra. But guess what? I had my customer success manager with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm anticipating
That
the good outcomes will come.
Yeah.
And I don't want my CSMs to be surprised as to what was done in a pre-sale.
Absolutely.
So I think as long as we can get that type of a process in play, I think you will have a great land, and then you'll have your kickoff with better understanding of the metrics that were promised, and the desired outcomes would be validated.
Absolutely.
And then you keep moving on to training and configuration and all sorts of us.
And actually, you're right. I did not mean to say that salespeople overpromise. They do sometimes, of course, but my intention was more along the lines of salespeople sometimes might not be the experts, might not truly understand the different things that are needed for true delivery, because let's not forget, part of the delivery process also involves engagement from the customer side that you pointed out earlier.
Right.
And a salesperson only has to go with the promise that the customer is going to behave the way they do in meetings, whereas they may not live up to their part of the bargain as well.
And implementation changes also.
Absolutely, right? You could have people changing, you could have process changing, the customer may be going through their own kind of different kinds of. So essentially what we are looking at is that is something that we have to take into. I like this. So essentially it was not my intention to say sales.
No, I know.
I teach sales. So, but you raise a very interesting point. So essentially, how do your customer success managers, or how do you make sure that you educate the customers that the success of your initiatives of customer success is going to be half dependent, if not more, on them to do their part as well? And how do you get them to do what they're supposed to be doing?
That's where the power of engagement comes in. If you don't engage your customer and you're just waiting for those lights to come in and move from green to red and then you react on it, that's not customer success. You'll fail every time. So the engagement comes in. So you've got to set expectations. And then you have to make sure that those people talk about QBRs. We talk about monthly retrospectives. We have a lot more engagement built, and those tasks or activities are triggered through a workflow that are prescriptive, that the customer is already aware this is going to happen. So,
and for me, this is very interesting, because actually what you're saying is engagement is there are two parts to engagement, which is the actual engagement, which is where the customer has to meet you halfway, but also preparing the customer for that engagement, which, let me ask you, is this a job of the salesperson to tell them that, hey, listen, once we give you this product or service or whatever it is, and this is what your team will need to do, this is a kind of a timeline. Is this a checklist that customer success interacts with your salespeople and tell them, hey, listen, when you're going to do this, don't just tell them that get the order and come back, but tell them that this is what is expected from them? Is it the job of the salesperson or the job of the customer success person here?
It's a team. It's a team. It's not because salespeople are not involved necessarily in making sure every deliverables are done post-sale, because they are moving on to the next one. But the customer success manager, that's why I'm advocating customer success manager should be an integral part of the team, so that CSM is not thought of, or as a CS function is not thought of, okay, when you sell, come and talk to me, I'll take care of the customer. No. You got to be involved.
Yeah, indeed. So one of the questions I actually had, which I think you sort of answered when I was talking about the fact that how do you know that your customers are engaged, but I think you already said it, right? When it's hold or when it has to move on, essentially the lead and the lag indicators are what you use to try and see if the customer is being engaged or not.
Let me say, you will still do the NPS, you'll still do the product usage metrics, they will still occur. But I think what's most important is they should not occur in a vacuum. You've got to have where the customer is in your journey and what deliverables have been created with the customer and all touch points that are being managed.
What I like about this is actually there are two parts to it. This is my take on this, right? My take on this is that when I'm looking at a customer who's made the decision to buy from you, there's one person who signs off on it, and there's another person who actually has to use it on a daily basis. And I think the concept of the lag indicators are much more for the people who signed off on it, saying, hey, this is what I expected to be doing. So they need to be, at the end of the year, they need to feel good about the fact that, hey, we decided to work with Bolstra. Look, I have the numbers to prove that it's working out well. Whereas the people who are actually using it on a daily basis are the ones where the lead indicators are a good way for you to see whether we can even deliver on that. Am I right in understanding this as well?
You are, but then the example could be also reversed, where the indicators through quantitative analysis that you're getting through your system indicators could not be good. But the journey that the customer is advancing is all great.
Good, okay.
And when that's the case, you know that the engagement is being successful, the customer's expectations are in line with yours, everything moving towards the next phase of your journey and the following phase of the journey is on track, even though your NPS scores may not be good, because I got to look at both, right? It can't be just this green and that red. It can be this red, that green. So what happens then? What happens? That's why we have created, and I'm grateful to our engineering team that has built in the capability, and our CS team that has built in the capability of combining the quantitative and qualitative to create indices that actually give you more meaningful information rather than just relying on quantitative analysis.
So I think it's great that if you can actually get this happening, because from my experience, a lot of times as the person who are looking at, especially if you're publicly listed company, are more interested in the indicators and the lag indicators a lot more, because that's what you want to use to report to everybody else. And my understanding of this is, depending upon the kind of organization, it could be that you have to make some of the people, the users of this, champions of Bolstra or any customer success, so that you need to educate part of your champions there so that they can go to the people who have to sign off on the renewal deeds for you.
That's exactly right.
And I think that's pretty much that's my understanding of how you have to work with, which raises the very important question is, this CS person must be a superhero. And I think that is something that will come back to in a later module. But I want to finally kind of cap up this part as saying, you mentioned lead indicators and lag indicators. So can you give me some idea of some examples of lead indicators and lag indicators? So NPS would be one lag indicator.
One lag indicator, right? Product usage metrics that you received last week is a rear view, hindsight information. Lead indicator is, what is the next activity that customer needs to conduct coming from, and is that happening on time? Is that scheduled? And that's forward-looking. And that's what lead indicators are. But I believe at the same time, I say you need to look at it together, because minus lead, you're only looking at hindsight.
Absolutely.
Right?
Indeed.
The way we do that, also we combine the lead indicator, we combine the lag indicator, we combine the activities or deliverables that are happening with time. Now, time is a very important factor. I'll tell you, CS folks go to their customer with a time tracking information from the tool that says, we did so many activities during this time frame for you, Miss Customer, and as a result, here is the progression of your journey. That is also critical. It's not absence of time. And if you're not tracking time, you can't go and talk about where things stand.
And I want to wrap this off with one question, which is the concept of AI and everything else coming up. To what extent do you think that going forward, a lag indicator could also be the quality of the conversations that you have and doing text mining for it? That is, I have a meeting that I recorded. I can go back and see what are the words being used. Is that something that you can also foresee going forward as something that could be very kind of, it's a nice thing because it can be used as lead and lag. Essentially, this is what we discussed. And is that something that you see happening already?
Yes,
or you,
not only just voice, but even sentiment tracking.
Wow.
Right? Where is the customer? So after you've talked to a customer, where on social media are they talking about you? Because at the end of the day, If you look at the lowest common denominator where you want to get to, that is the foundation of customer success, is creating a culture of advocacy.
Fantastic. So
If
great.
you don't create culture of advocacy, then you're just ticking a box.
So when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about this superhero, the customer success manager. What is their profile? So please stay with me.